And last but by no means least, thank you. And last but by no means least is Ganesh Ildirim. She's our Regional Director for MENA, Middle East and North of Africa, and part of the Oximio senior management team. She's been instrumental in getting Oximio Saudi Arabia on the map, and this is where we are today. Ganesh is a highly experienced professional with over 22 plus years of operational experience in site management, clinical operations, and logistic operations in the clinical trials sector. And again, finally, for those who've not met me, please. Thank you. And for those who haven't met me before, I am Dr. Zahida Khan. I'm Chief Commercial Officer. Again, I have over 20 plus years of it. I don't need to read this. I have 20 plus years of experience in clinical research, both in pharmaceutical sector, but also in CRO and now in logistics. It's, again, a privilege for me to actually see this growth in Oximio. And I hope that all a part of you are going to be part of this journey with us today. Before we begin our panel discussion, which will open up with Q&A as well, I would like to give the stage to Dr. Riyad, who will provide a short presentation of the clinical trial progress and challenges in Saudi Arabia. So, Dr. Riyad, over to you.
Thank you. Do we have the slides? So, thank you for hosting us and allowing me to present our progress, actually, and it probably reflects all what happened across Saudi Arabia and across multiple sites and entities, Saudi FDA, CROs, and all other entities working in clinical trials. Do we have a clicker? Okay. So this is my agenda: introduction, baseline evaluation, addressing the gaps and challenges and the future. Next slide, not working. Okay, so this is the global market of clinical trials. As you see, it's a big market, expected to increase. The major dominator of the market is North America and Europe, where they get around 50% of that trial business. The problem with this, the majority of patients recruited on these trials are Caucasians, so different ethnic background, diet, microbiome, and genomics are different as well. And that is a problem to generalize the data from these trials. Next slide. So this is, if we look at the trial activity per GDP, as you see, this is Saudi Arabia. And these are countries with close by GDP, and this is clinical trial per million. So we score very low, and that's what brought the attention of the government, actually, why we're not investing in this business. Despite having similar GDP to Spain, they have 220 trials per million versus less than 20 in Saudi Arabia. And this is data up to 2022. So this is what brought the attention of the government and why they decided to start investing in this business. Next slide. If you look in another way to clinical trial activity, so this is the ratio of pharmaceutical expenses to clinical trial income, and it's inverted in Saudi Arabia. So we spend a lot and we invest a little in clinical trials. So this is another way to look at it, and we need to revert or invert this ratio to score pretty much like other countries with similar GDP. Next slide, please. So clinical trial has a multiplier effect on economy, revenue generation, cost saving from drugs, and the job opportunities. So this is very attractive for Vision 2030. Next slide. These are the big pharma companies on the market. As you see, GSK, Pfizer, AstraZeneca, and so on, our sponsors. We work with all of them, actually. All of them has studies in the kingdom and in King Faisal. Next slide. This is which area are covered by clinical trials. And as you see, oncology on the top. And this is reflected also in our system, and in Saudi Arabia, oncology is the top just because it's a high unmet need and people invest in that area. Next slide. So what's needed? When we first started in 2021, it's a complex place, right? And a lot of communication, a lot of parties. So sponsors come for timelines. You have a quick timeline. You can recruit on the trials, good quality, and the cost, okay, cost of running trials. So these are the requirement, and you need to fix these to bring trials. Next slide. This is when we started again. So this is handwritten, our process. Okay, we tried to see what's happening. Okay, why our timelines are not this good. And as you see, and probably this is everywhere, you get the application. Our software is called Converis to submit to IRB. We had a lot of glitches, where we submit and IRB doesn't get them, or they reply, we don't get them. We fixed all of this. But anyway, it's a complex system and a lot of parties, internal and external. You need to establish good communication with them and solve these bottlenecks in order to have good timelines. Next slide. So we did a process map, okay? We took several trials that were done in the institution in the past, and we went through the process to see where these trials are stuck, where most of the time is spent, and try to eliminate some of the steps, fix some of the steps so that the process becomes smooth and fast. We reviewed the activity that was happening in the institution because we've had trials from before, the timelines, recruitment. Many trials did not recruit actually in the past, the quality and the lessons learned from this. We identified the gaps. The pathway was fragmented, no standard pathway to enter our institution, and probably the same everywhere in Saudi Arabia. No person or contract to start with. So we established all of this now. How to retain the expert manpower was also problematic because the industry was not, a priority. So people come, you train them, and in a year or so, they go to a different job. The external stakeholders had similar problems as well. So Saudi FDA, National Committee of Bioethics, because again, the business was not a priority. So CROs, CRAs, and sponsors did not have, what's needed on the ground to push this business. And now everybody's changing. So the whole ecosystem is changing. Next slide. So for our timelines, we fixed our internal issues, and still there are some glitches. So contract, IRB, finance, the external NCBE, Saudi FDA. Saudi FDA actually did an excellent job. So they have now a faster pathway to process trial. They have the RAID pathway. They have the Reliance. And they changed pretty much like we did, okay, at a faster pace probably. Nowadays, sometimes we get approval from Saudi FDA before we finish our site approval. So they will be waiting our contract. So we're working to speed our contract. Feasibility is a very important step, and the past was not done appropriately. So now we have an on-call team for feasibility. When you send me feasibility, we reach out to the physician in charge of these patients, and we do appropriate feasibility. We answer the questions to the best of our knowledge. We give honest answers because that will help you later on with the accrual. We have a quality team. We're recruiting. And for career development and to retain our manpower, we created a certification pathway for our different levels of coordinator and managers in clinical trials. And we're working on incentives for all the team. Next slide. So these are the key steps, feasibility, and then when the site is selected, you have a set of things to do. Then the trial is activated and recruitment start. So what we do the feasibility, and once the site is selected, immediately you will get what we call a welcome email with all the forms needed. And a coordinator assigned as a startup coordinator to help you collecting the application and submitting to IRB. Next slide. Our model. So because we're short-staffed and a lot of activity on clinical trials is shared in between departments. In the past, our clinical trial was spread all over the places, like oncology, they have their own, endocrinology, they have their own. So we adopted the centralized pathway because, we streamlined the process and we have efficient manpower trained, on the common processes. In the future, we may decentralize some of the function like specialty coordinator. So you will have a coordinator for oncology, coordinator for heart center, and so on. Next slide. Our indicators, so we set up also indicators and we're fixing these numbers as time go. So number of trials, reduction of time to trial activation, subject recruitment and accrual on trials, increase in the direct and indirect revenue, and number of protocol deviation to test the quality. So now we're trying to capture all of these on every single trial moving forward. Next slide. So by doing so, our numbers increase. This is cumulative number, and this is feasibility, as you see. So this is 2022 and all the way to Q1 2026. The light green is PI-initiated and collaborative trials, not sponsored trials, also growing in parallel. Next slide. This is the distribution of our trials as of last week. So we have 169 active. We have 96 under approval in the startup, feasibility 265, and we completed 55 trials since we started. Next. Patient number are increasing on clinical trials as well. Next. Challenges, we do have challenges. We still have a lot of work to do. Talent, capacity, we're facing some capacity problems, in radiology in different areas. So that's one of the problems we're trying to solve. We're looking into digital solutions. We still don't have a clinical trial management system. And part of it is because Saudi NIH promised to bring a clinical trial management system for the whole country, actually. So we're waiting on that, and we're hesitating whether we invest, we pay the money, to get our own, or we wait for Saudi NIH. There are operational bottlenecks, culture and structure to operate. You need a flexible structure because you're growing, so you need to hire as you go. And the culture, when we started, when you tell people clinical trial, they tell you, oh, leave me alone. I have my clinical duties, okay? Trials is, now this is changing, okay? So everybody wants to do trials. National collaboration is still not at its best, among centers. So that's something that we need to work on. There are national bottlenecks, too many stakeholders in the business, NCBE, Saudi FDA, and others trying to fix like PIF, Ministry of Investment. But you need one to make decisions. Okay, let's fix this and move to next. Okay, this is still missing. And we're trying to have a hospital catalog. So the hospital catalog will be the services, area of interest, patient numbers, and this way, people can see it and then come to you for specific trials. Next. So what's next in our center? Expansion and capacity, the phase 1 program. We just started, the engineering of the area. So we expect a year from now to be certified. We have the PI-initiated pathway. This is the in-house clinical trials. Also, we're expanding on that one. We do have a training program now, very a little training program. We're trying to expand and then become a teaching area for clinical trials. Next slide. So in summary, communications is the most important, streamline the communication, make it fast. You need everybody to buy in. Education is very important, culture and incentives. We need to invest initially with good planning. The problem right now, we're not investing a lot, so we're operating in a crisis mode because of the transformation of the institution, but that's something we can work around. Structure and policies is very important. You need to empower key stakeholders, whether internally or externally, to make trial happen on time and increase recruitment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very insightful data, and I think it's a good foundation of the panel discussion that's to come. So thank you very much. Do we have Dr. Mayer online? Discussion that's to come. So thank you very much. Do we have Dr. Discussion that's to come?
No, I am here.
Thank you very much. Do we have that better? Hello, welcome. Dr. Hanny, can you hear and see us?
Yeah, I do both here and see you.
Dr. Hanny, can you hear and see us?
Yeah, I do both here and see you.
Hanny, can you hear and see us?
Yeah, I do both here and see you.
Is that better? Yes? Okay, perfect. Well, welcome. We'll try and make this work. This is a bit of a hybrid approach. So, well, welcome. We'll try and make this work. This is a bit of a hybrid approach. So, just the one. Okay, let's try again. That seems to work. Thank you very much. So, as I've mentioned, this is a bit of a hybrid approach. We do have. Maybe not use it. A bit of a hybrid approach. We do have. This one working? Is this one working? But this one seems to work. This one working? No. We can try that now. Oh, this is better. Yes? Thank you. Thank you for your patience and apologies for the few technical difficulties there. So I think first of all, Dr. Ria, thank you for the presentation. I think there's a lot of data there as well, and we can probably drill down into as we go through the questions as well. First of all, one of the questions is Saudi Arabia is making significant investment in healthcare research and innovation, and we've heard about the Vision 2030. From your perspective, what progress has already been made in strengthening clinical trials in the kingdom?
So the major challenge was the ecosystem and how different parties, communicate with each other and standardize the process. Okay, so all of this now is done. Still, there are some glitches, like the legal wording in the contract, having a clinical trial agreement for the whole country. So this is a work in progress. Saudi and IH took that challenge, and they're preparing a CTA for the whole country. And, because many parties are included in clinical trials, sometimes you have conflicting recommendations. So one of the challenge we're facing now and we're trying to solve is the SADAIA recommendation about personal data protection law and how to word it in the CTAs. So this is something that takes a lot of back and forth with sponsors, to agree on something, what's the governing law and so on. So when we fix this, everybody will be on board, everybody is satisfied, then the process will be faster. So these are the major hiccups still in the timelines. Next, when this is fixed, the challenge would be the capacity, and the capacity in terms of having expert manpower in a clinical trial on the ground. So if you open the door, you get a lot of trials and you don't have, the expertise how to handle these, you'll be in trouble. And this is what many institutions are working on, doing training, bringing coordinators and so on. But that's what we expect next. We're trying to mitigate this by training our manpower.
Thank you very much. Dr. Hani, can I offer you maybe a response to that question too?
Sure. Just first of all, thank you for having me. I'm sorry today. I'm kind of having sore throat, so you're probably gonna hear some of my voice, some cuts there. But generally speaking, we have made significant improvement here in Saudi Arabia in the past a few years. Like thinking of the three pillars of the clinical trial ecosystem, the site, the sponsors, and the regulatory. All of these three have been significantly improved from within. And thinking that the Supreme Committee, led by His Royal Highness Prince Mohammed bin Salman, has kind of give these three pillars the incentives to move on and move forward toward achieving these broader improvements toward the clinical trial ecosystem here in Saudi Arabia. And putting everything together, it would be great to give you just a good example that happened here in the Eastern Province, in the Eastern Health Cluster. Like taking the all significant improvements that happened in the past few years, we kind of also pick up the pace and we established more clinical trial units across many hospitals here, where we have not only established units, but make sure that we develop a system where we train the PIs, the CRCs, and as well as investigational pharmacists, and can making sure that he can be in direct contact, he can with good communication with the medical affairs. Particularly because most of those trials that we are hosting right now are phase three, which is kind of pure healthcare delivery. Long story short, the one thing that is really significantly improved, which is I think is very important when we think of the R&D from the business standpoint, is the trust. Once we develop that trust with our sponsors, everyone would love to come and have a trial or a successful trial in one of our sites. And obviously, trusting will not be developed without having a good quality. For instance, that site should be inspected, become monitored, audited with no deviations from protocol and so on and so forth. I don't want to really get into the operational details, but long story short, the one very critical and important improvement that has happened is definitely developing the trust from within the Saudi clinical trial ecosystem.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And I think there were some key words there: trust, quality, partnerships, key stakeholders. I think those would be part of the questions as we come through. So in the recent years, as obviously the kingdom's building infrastructure, regulatory framework, patient access, how much international collaboration has there been in terms of setting up the future for the kingdom?
So actually, the majority of sponsored trials are international. Okay, we have a minority of collaborative and in-house trials, as you saw in my slides. So there was a lot of bridge forming, I would say, with sponsors, all international sponsors. Training as well. We've done some training abroad. We brought, from UK last week we had a group coming and train our personnel. And as Dr. Hani mentioned, the trust, you start small, and then when you see the numbers increasing, that means, the system is tested and people started to know you and come. And basically, it's all international, whether it's East, West, we've had a lot of proposals from China recently. We're trying as well to fine tune, what's required for these trials and inside the kingdom from the regulatory standpoint. But almost, I would say, 90% of our work and our collaboration is international.
Thank you. Ganesha, would you like to mention a few words about international stakeholders? I mean, in our landscape, we also have a global network. So, yeah.
Thank you, Zaida. Of course, in our other Oximio locations as well, and I hope coming soon for Saudi Arabia also, we have mostly global, international sponsored, industry-sponsored clinical trials. And also we have been working with different stakeholders from the industry, not only with the sponsors directly, with also global CDMOs, manufacturers, CROs as well. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So within the room, and I think also our online audience, there are CROs. I mean, I think when you see the overall portfolio of stakeholders, there are CRO, logistics providers like Oximio, obviously the sponsors, pharmaceutical companies, biotech companies. What is the main driver for them to run a clinical trial in Saudi Arabia? Why, if they looked at the landscape, why to choose Saudi Arabia as a destination for clinical trials? Dr. Hani, maybe you can open up that.
Sure.
Thank
you.
you.
It's a great question. Basically, one of the most important and critical drivers that would lead any CRO or pharmaceutical company to come and propose a feasibility is definitely the population availability. And once they're there, a population, they need to make sure that there is also a competent site that could compose obviously of the very well trained staff, including pharmacists and PIs and nurses and so on and so forth. So the most important part obviously is the population, and all the questions will follow suit during the feasibility. Where will they assess the readiness, the actual readiness of the site?
Thank you.
Yeah.
I agree with Dr. Hani. You have an access to around 35 million, in terms of population. You do have a big institution, tertiary, quaternary care centers. The other thing I would like to add is rare disease, So we do have Saudi Arabia and the Gulf in general is known to have higher incidence of rare disease. So we see a lot of interest from companies having drugs for rare disease, trying to access the market. And the reason is part of it is the consanguinity rate. So the consanguinity rate in Saudi Arabia is 52%. So, monogenic, polygenic disease are more frequent. So that's also a hot area.
So it's a huge sort of patient population opportunities as well. So there's obviously those are from the opportunities, and I think it's not it's important to see the other side of that, and also what the challenges may be as well. So is there anything that, say, from international perspectives, even from a regulatory or operational setup perspective, are there challenges that they can have overcome before they are setting up? Is there any proactiveness that they can do before setting up clinical trials in the kingdom?
Yeah, I mean, you need to enter the market, right? And you need to test it. Some people were hesitant because they never tried. And if you try one time and fail, you shouldn't stop, okay? I don't think the ecosystem of Saudi Arabia is more difficult, for example, than the Russian ecosystem, right? So, and people penetrated the market of Russia, of Eastern Europe, very well. We know Eastern Europe was one of the highest recruiting areas on many trials worldwide. So people need to try, need to know the system, approach people on the ground and have their expert people on the ground to penetrate this market. Okay. And again, it needs both, us fixing the ecosystem internally and them accessing the ecosystem, networking with regulators, with sites. It's not easy as a first time, but then when you do it once, twice, we learn, you learn, and then we go together on this journey. And again, I need to stress, the Saudi market is not more difficult than the Russian market, okay? And the regulations, and because the regulations in Saudi Arabia are pro-Western, and probably more flexible as compared, to Eastern Europe. So both we need to work together to go on this journey.
Dr. Hani?
Yes, I think we need to acknowledge a very important aspect of the clinical trial ecosystem here in Saudi Arabia. We know for a fact that the majority of the studies that we are hosting here are particularly phase 3 trials. And phase 3 trials basically is pure healthcare delivery. I wouldn't call this research. This is going to be like on-label use in probably in a few months or a few years. And this is very critical from um, from very pure um, uh, strategic point of view. Like in thinking of researching is one thing, and thinking of phase 3 and phase 4 is another thing. And that's probably is an important element where the administrative part here can play a major role into facilitating and pushing the wheels and toward having more trials here in Saudi. Um, Personally, I think we are expanding, we are improving, but we need to be cautiously expanding because sometimes you having too many trials is not really as healthy as we would love to see. Because it means that if you will need more staff, you're probably going to collapse the system. You're probably going to do more mistakes, which is not really good. Sometimes you need to have a good success story in some given trials, making sure that you recruit the patients, if you meet the targets, if you don't deviate from protocols, you do it right. So you attract the sponsors to come again and again and again. I'll give you a quick example of one of the studies that we used to have here, without naming the disease, but it was rare disease area, where we were basically the best recruiting site globally and inspected by the American FDA, and there were no major finding. This is something really need to be contagious across sites, and this is how sponsors and pharmaceuticals will have that. Um, they will smell it and will just come run to your site to kind of build that relationship. I think moving in a steady, wise manner will help the system rather than just keep moving fast and getting more feasibilities and getting more trials and having zero recruitments and kind of deviating from protocols and then you kind of getting that trust a little shaky. And again, you'll see me stressing on that trust because I think this is very critical, and you'll see probably in the future questions. Probably I'll say the same thing: trust, 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 because this is very critical in this field.
Wonderful. So we've heard the word trust again on several occasions there. And I think when we speak of stakeholders, there's obviously many stakeholders that are involved in setting up a clinical trial, right from obviously the early stages in terms of getting your protocol approved. But one of the most important also stakeholders that's involved in the process is clinical trial logistics. So I want to pose a question in terms of, again, Vision 2030 and then the logistics overview, clinical trial logistics. So we're here now, Oximio being a pioneer in terms of that space. So Ganesh, I'd like to maybe address a question to you, the climate and the landscape for clinical trial logistics. What does that look like in Saudi Arabia and what's your vision for Oximio?
Thank you, Zahida. Actually, climate conditions, temperature conditions may be challenging sometimes. We know this. We can't just say that it's not a challenge for clinical trial logistics. Especially when managing temperature-sensitive clinical trial products. Climate conditions may be challenging, but today in recent years, industry has evolved significantly. So today, with the proper planning, qualified packaging solutions, risk-based assessments, and of course, with strong local partnerships, many of these challenges can be managed even proactively. And of course, climate conditions still may increase operational complexity, may require additional precautions. But rather than considering them as a barrier for a clinical trial, I think climate conditions, temperature conditions needs to be considered as a significant critical parameter during study setup, supply chain design. Thank you.
Thank you. So again, quite an important stakeholder to be part of that planning process in the early stages. We heard also about quality and the importance of quality systems, compliance, documentation, also involving import processes and local partnerships. In each of your circle of expertise, what is the quality excellence that Saudi Arabia can bring to international sponsors?
So, I mean, in terms of quality, first of all, you have, again, tertiary care centers, very well experienced with many standard of care options. So this quality is already built in and available. The clinical care, if you look at centers here, there are specialized centers excelling in these areas. One example, King Faisal is well known worldwide for its transplant infrastructure and hematology oncology center. So that's a place where we treated a lot of patients. We did 7,000 transplant. We've done 300 plus CAR T-cell. We are accredited from many international bodies, from JC, so this is quality, right? So when you are accredited, this is an acknowledgement of what this center can do. And other centers, are specialized in other area like heart disease and so on. So you have good sites, with track history of caring for patients, with access to almost all the standard of care options available. And this is a very good backbone and a very good, quality system, because you're treating these complex patients and you're accredited. So people acknowledge that you're able to do this. And as such, you can translate this to trials.
So having a very robust quality foundation is very, very important. Dr. Hani, would you like to provide a few words there?
Sure. When we think about quality, I would definitely think of two important aspects. And the first one is to show an example. Like, we need to show an example of anything happened that showed and raised the bar that I think we did something great. The second of all is obviously to show something like Dr. Riyad was saying about the accreditation. He triggered me to remember one of the most important accreditations when we talk about the research is the AHARB accreditation. For instance, in those sites who have running trials, if they have some sort of this kind of accreditation, will definitely add more confidence into that site, like the AHARB accreditation, the Human Protection Program by the Saudi NIH, and so on and so forth. I think these two aspects will definitely add into the quality of the work and showcase that these sites definitely worth the trust.
Thank you. Thinking about quality,
Yeah.
Ganesh, from your point of view.
Sure. Let me explain with an example how we would like to contribute in level of excellence, quality excellence in the country. As company, we are striving to enhance our level of quality in our operations and trying to maintain an alignment on a global level for maintain a standard on a global level for all Oximio locations, all of our locations. We use validated systems, equipments, which are validated by the manufacturers according to the global standards. And we are also maintaining our own validations. We are testing, we are executing testing projects for some critical equipments like insulated shipper boxes, data loggers, for example, and this is I think this is an advantage for a company to have a infrastructure facility in a country which is so eager for innovation, research and development and innovation. And I think our vision is very well aligned with the 2030 vision of the country. So with this, we want to be a big contributor in the level of excellence in clinical trials, quality excellence.
Thank you. So as I see it in some of the data, and I think some of this feedback that we're hearing today, Saudi Arabia is truly ready for advanced and complex clinical trials, especially seeing the type of trials that Saudi can actually perform. We obviously keep on, again, reiterating the Vision 2030. But if in all of your, again, areas of expertise, what areas should we really be focusing on in the next, maybe obviously these 3 to 5 years, to make sure that we achieve operational excellence, regulatory excellence, and then be ready for that Vision 2030 once we get there?
You mean clinical areas or what type of?
Across the industry. So obviously there's research, but then there'll be the CROs. Are they ready for this vision, the Vision 2030? Obviously logistics, the hospitals.
Yeah. So basically, everybody's building capacity. Okay, when we started, and we started to know what it needs, and started to test the ecosystem and what needs to be fixed. Everybody started to look at the capacity, building capacity to be able to process this number of trials, building capacity to be able, to provide what's needed. For example, we've had too many scenarios where we have a patient ready, but then the lab kits are not here. Okay, then you'll have to. So that initiated a whole, chain of trying to identify what's the problem and fix it. So right now, these issues, are kind of fixed. Importation. Now we have Oximio, a depot, for these, probably for the medication as well. You can host the medications, so that bypassed this issue. Next step is looking into how to expand in capacity, training, retaining expert manpower, and be vigilant, like when we started, everybody was asking about numbers, give me numbers, how many. No, now we have to focus, we may be selective, this is our focus. For example, our focus is rare disease. So we will focus on these trials and we will excel in these. The other center will do, heart, whatever. So capacity, expert manpower retention is very important for everybody. You can be the best site, and then your partner, for example, your CRO is not expert, okay, or not prepared to handle this number of trials, then the whole system will crash down. So we need to be in harmony across all stakeholders. Again, Saudi FDA is doing an excellent job. They're ahead of us on some issues. NCBE is improving, National Committee of Bioethics. So everybody should be in harmony, and expanding proportional to their expansion in the number of trials they're handling.
Thank you. Yeah, great. Dr. Hani?
Sure. So let me allow me please to take it one step back. So thinking that the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia have really good ambitions into achieving 1% of the clinical trials market size, the global one. The 1%, and we stand right now probably 0.03 or something like that, more or less. Going into that number, that is something scary and good at the same time. Is it really attainable? Is it really feasible? Have we had the capacity to move toward that goal? I'm not answering this question, but I think I'm just asking these questions because I think it's very tough sometimes that I think we don't have the right pacing for the right goal. Either we lower the goal or pick up the pace. That's in general. But we can, if we really want to kind of pick up the pace and can moving toward that goal, we need to kind of activate many other aspects in the system. For instance, the we need to actively activating the SMO model, like the site management organization model, because thinking of the 1%, it means that we need to establish tens, if not hundreds, of sites across the kingdom. And look at as of today, probably we only have five experienced sites and three and five to seven other emerging sites. And so thinking of that 1%, we need to also having double, if not triple on that number. This is one. Do we have the capacity, the training, the personnel to run it? I think the reasonable answer is no. Then how can I move forward? Do we have the time to train all these personnel? Or should we go into having an outsourcing model, like for you guys, like Oximio, like you guys doing great for the logistics right now. Same thing for the operation of the clinical trials. It will be great if we have like 3, 4 companies here in the kingdom to kind of compete and can go and take that site either from end to end or just you
Yes.
can slice it and dice it, like you can pick and choose. That's okay. There's some SMO model, they can go and rent the whole site and will be the owner of the site and they can provide everything. That's one aspect that I think we need to consider here in the clinical trial ecosystem in Saudi Arabia. We need to be pretty much open to all opportunities, like to all outsourcing models that I think will be able to kind of push the wheels toward that 1%. That will be great. Like for instance, like Oximio today. Again, you guys doing great. Imagine that LabCorp is coming to Saudi. That would be huge too, right? So
I'd like to think
I'm
so.
thinking, what's that?
I said I would like to
Okay.
think so. That's the aim.
Okay. But generally speaking, the outsourcing model of any aspects of the clinical trial continuum will be something that we always need to think thoroughly about.
Mhm. And I think, what I'm also, data is great, but I think what we do with that data, and you have to make sure that you are ready for that data to become like, the curve was almost a trajectory going up. And I don't see that going the other way. I see, a very potential positive growth. But taking that into mind, I think everybody in the room and also online is to make sure that we are also operationally ready for that growth, like I think we've heard from the panelist today. So it's important, I think, for obviously to understand the local knowledge, expertise, the local partnerships, and how those partnerships can grow. We spoke about partnerships, we spoke about trust, we spoke about communication, and they're really three strong key areas. Would you consider anything else to add into that bubble that would actually enhance a relationship or parts of a clinical trial to make it smoother, to ensure that there will always be challenges along the way, but how we can overcome those challenges together. Like I say, we spoke about trust, we spoke quality, we spoke about effective communication, building up relationships as well. Is there anything else that the panelists can actually add to that framework? Dr. Hani?
Like if I really wanted to add something, in addition to trust, I would say definitely um, needing to have the experienced staff, because sometimes trust is the very high umbrella, and then if we go to the bottom, we need to have like the right experienced staff. If we have like those guys like um, ready in place, I think the whole continuum can definitely move forward, and definitely like sometimes there is very important thing that I think been overlooked probably in our system, which is the administrative part sometimes. And can we understand when we discuss clinical trials, we always remember the three pillars: the sponsors, and the site, and the regulatory. All these three guys are doing definitely outstandingly great. But we forgot the administrative part that governs all these three entities. Sometimes if you think about an emerging CTU that is the Northern Territory of the Kingdom, and is led by someone who doesn't have the experience, doesn't have, how would that person um, from within the system will be able to ask for a staff? Because if that is a small unit. Small unit typically will have a small outcome. Thinking
Mm,
of the kingdom ambition, we need to make sure that the administrative part have mandates on these newly established units need to be reporting directly to a CEO level or an executive level, or so on and so forth. So these easy peasy stuff could be solved like that. Because guess what? If we think that if we have a small CTU that is based in that corner, um, small, like nothing will happen. The outcome will be very small. I think the administrative part will need to be again. We think about it thoroughly, and making sure that all the CTUs and research centers be positioned high in the organizational structures of any healthcare facility. I think that it will definitely play a
yes.
very important role. I'm talking from the very operational aspect, and I know for a fact that this will give huge privileging to make the business thing running very smoothly.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Trust. How do you see trust?
Honestly, we mentioned about trust, we mentioned about quality, and here and ambition. We mentioned here. I can just echo what Dr. Riyad said about harmony. It's very important. There are different stakeholders in the industry, in different operations, different processes. The harmony between the stakeholders is a very important key element here, because there is always improvement areas. There is always gray areas, for example, with the regulations, with the operational requirements. But if we can have an harmony between the stakeholders in the relationship, in the interactions of the stakeholders, I think we can cope with, we can handle. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like only to add, education and educating, all partners, whether government, regulator sites. So educating each other. Sometimes we learn from same experience is very important in the clinical trials, and as we build the ecosystem and we make it harmonized. And one important aspect is patients, so you need to educate public. This is something we can work on together, showing the public what clinical trials are, what can this bring, additional, how can it help their health, their loved ones. So this is something, we need all together to work on it. We often, don't look at it, but these are our customers, right? And without patients, we cannot do anything. Uh, I've seen some people, accessing our website now and start asking, do I have access to this? But this is very limited, while when I was, training in the States, people come and they have the name of the trial they want to participate in. So we have a big gap here to bridge together education.
And it's an important point. We all look at our certain scope of work, but at the end of the day, there is a patient, and like quite rightly said, that is our customer at the end of the day. So maybe just a final wrap up, and then we can open it to the floor. What advice would you give to international organizations and to build obviously long-term partnerships with organizations like ourselves, like yours, to actually start building partnerships and operational success in Saudi Arabia?
So, persistence, being persistent, and willing to penetrate the market is very important. So you need endurance. Okay. You cannot stop from the first try. The first try is almost always a failure, or kind of failure. You need to be persistent. This is a big market. We do have the patience, we do have the will to work together. There are hiccups, sometimes misunderstanding that we need to work it up together. So being honest, transparent, approaching, the big sites, trying to tackle problems together would help to build this relationship, and I always say, I don't know if somebody from Novartis here, but I use the example of Novartis. When we started with them, we were, not doing good, but then they were very persistent, and right now we have 5 clinical trials, 5 CAR T-cell clinical trials with Novartis, okay, with one company, and clinical trials, a CAR T-cell for rare disease, autoimmune disease, and so on. So they were persistent, they did not stop with the first failure. They were trying to help us, to tackle these issues. They met the government, Ministry of Investment. I saw them with the ministry. And I know many are, not only Novartis, many are doing this. But this is, very important to build a trust and relationship, long-term relationship, the will, to work together and to fix it.
Thank you, Dr. Hani.
Yeah, I think this is very, very, very important and critical. When we're thinking about the collaboration, international collaboration, it is very critical that we think not only that these international big giant companies should come and reach to us. We need to take the proactive role, and those who should take the proactive role should know the language. This is very important because we don't want to go, for instance, to take the proactive role and doing it the wrong way. Because having the right language, I mean the right R&D language, will definitely be significant a door opener. Because if we for instance take the proactive role and doing it wrong, they will never come back and they will never try to come to you again. I think definitely take the proactive role with the right personnel. Very critical here in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to invest in the business development, to have the right people at the right time, at the right place, chatting with the right people will be a door opener for us. And I think this is a pretty hot area that we should put more attention to. So kind of taking the proactive role and then attracting all these giant sponsors and so on and so forth. I think again the proactive role is very important.
Thank you. Thank you. Your advice, Ganesh?
My advice is eagerness to accept change, accept and embrace the change, and accept the difficulties, actually, because as we said, industry is evolving, clinical research evolving. We will be never 100% ready, actually, because readiness is not a fixed status, actually. I think readiness is our flexibility, adaptability to respond the changing conditions. So we need to be ready to embrace the changes, to accept the difficulties. Thank you.
So agile, agility, trust, quality, partnerships, I think they're very, very key words. It's been an absolute pleasure to have this panel with me today. I'd like to obviously thank everybody in the room, thank everybody in online as well. But I would like to open up the floor to questions to our panelists, who I'm sure will be more than eager to answer those questions for us.
Hello. شكرا جزيلا دكتور رياض دكتور هاني and Ganesh. I wanted to highlight something. I think your focus was about quality, validity system, and data integrity, and this is very good. But this is one pillar, but it's important pillar. The other pillar is the business and operation, which is, as a CRO, maybe care about as much as the quality. And the clinical trial logistic companies in Saudi can save up to 15 business days of study startup. If we can have the startup from IRB submission to its IV, you can guys save 15 business days. This is a breakthrough. This is something very, 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 very important. So I suggest to have one from the site, one representative from the site, and one from Saudi FDA, and one from CRO, and one from the company like you, and go to Saudi FDA and custom and arrange how we can bring the IB, the lab kits before the Saudi FDA approval. I did it twice, but it is, not clear by the way. Okay, so please, if you can do this, you help us a lot. Okay, this is one thing. Another thing, and maybe Dr. Riyad can help Dr. Hani. The CRC received maybe 2 or 3 shipments, lab kits, IP every day. Okay, I know, there is a lot of shipment. And this is maybe the most important. If you can arrange, the shipments comes to you and you can arrange one shipment on Sunday from 10 to 11, so you will not bother the CRC and keep calling them and DHL calling them, and this is very important. I know you did a lot, okay, about packaging, but for me, this is very important.
Very, very key aspect that and again, it's something because we are also involved. We are, as I say, want to be a pioneer in depot solutions, not only depot storage, but also the distribution as well. So it's just as important. I think one of the factors that you mentioned, to try and get products into the country in advance. Absolutely. We will come to you as a collective to the SFDA to say, look, this is our proposal. We are wanting to be subject matter experts in logistics in the kingdom. And I think it's ambitious, but that is where I would wish to be, together with obviously Vision 2030. But exactly this of getting products, we talk about challenges in climate and temperature. Again, it all adds into to the scenario as well. How can we make sure that the products are ready for that patient? The patient is the most important customer at the end of the day. Obviously, we have CROs, we have sponsors, but getting the medication to the patient at the right time, at the right temperature is probably, I don't think there's anything more important than that. Would the panelists like to add anything to that comment?
No, I mean, as mentioned, you can always do things, by yourself and through exceptions, through meetings, but very important to have a system, clear system. Okay, this is the system. Okay, you have this clinical trial will allow you to bring in, such and such ahead of time. Okay, and how many days ahead of time. So having a system for everybody, then you would have right expectations. When you have right expectations, you can plan appropriately.
Dr. Hani? I'm not sure if you
No,
heard.
no comment. I agree with Dr. Ala.
You agree? Okay.
Yeah,
I also agree, and no need to have collaborations sometimes, but we definitely need to have a cooperation from the beginning. Yes, I agree.
I would like to ask one question. I think there is a definitely geopolitical situation around the world, and Oximio operates in many regions affected by geopolitical conflicts and general situation. We developed our significant resilience to any changes, any issues on the markets. And in many countries, we are very important stabilization element of clinical trials when we can secure shipments, when we can secure this business continuity. My question to panelists, with the recent geopolitical situation in the Middle East, do you see any effect on clinical trials environment in Saudi Arabia? And what other maybe measures or needs that we all can contribute to make this more smooth and secured place for clinical trials?
It's a very relevant topic of the news of today. So the challenges of geopolitical situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's a challenge for everybody always, travel interruption, shipment, and so on. The good thing, there are alternative ways, and it's always good to have a backup plan. On ground, frankly speaking, myself, I did not notice any difference. Clinical trials still coming, shipments, we had some delays in some shipments, but then people used alternate pathways, and that solved the problem very quickly. CAR T cell, because it's temperature, so these cells come frozen. So we've had some hiccup when this first started, but it was fixed very, very quickly, actually. So I don't see a direct impact, okay, with this level of disturbance. Now, anything can happen, it can escalate, it can de-escalate. We hope all to de-escalate, like what happened in Russia and Ukraine. So this is a big disruption that can happen, and this is in nobody's hands. But having alternate and backup plans, for these expected small disruptions is always beneficial.
I can say about this, yes, for example, the closure of the traditional airways and also geopolitical other geopolitical difficulties. But we had honestly we had similar scenarios in COVID period as well, COVID-19 period. And since the COVID, I see that there is a shift in logistic industry. I mean, there is a shift from the just-in-time strategy to just-in-case strategy. So instead of relying on one-stop distribution central model, maybe spreading the inventory, allocating the inventory across a regional hub network, it may be safeguard the clinical trials and of course, not indirectly, actually directly save the patients because this impacting the patients actually who are waiting for life-changing medication, for example. Yeah.
Just a reference to your Turkey depot as well there, Ganesh, well done. Dr. Hani, with regards to the geopolitical challenges or situation, how do you foresee that, or have you seen any shift or no shift?
Yeah, honestly speaking, we haven't seen or witnessing any significant disturbance here, and I personally I don't even foresee anything
Okay.
would significantly shift the operational work here in Saudi Arabia. It's I think it's safe and we don't see any issues and things are going very smoothly. And as Dr. Faqih was mentioned, it was just a tiny bit of a delay for some of the shipments. And thankfully everything was right on spot. And hopefully things will go back to normal. I think now it's to normal though. And even be improved toward even achieving better goals and be in parallel with the Saudi 2030 ambitious goals.
Wonderful. And I think one of the aspects is having that agility and also mitigating risks in advance. It's important for any part of that, though, you know, whichever part of you are in where you sit within the process, making sure that you can mitigate risk. We have very strong business continuity practices. Again, like Michael had mentioned, from, you know, our experiences, you know, the Oximio location country as a whole, we actually were originally set up in Ukraine, and now we obviously know, you know, we have business continuity strategies, and it's also resilience, but it's also business as usual. We have to deliver drugs to patients, and that is our aim. And, you know, the team really do that in a very strong way. Any other questions from? Sorry, thank you.
Hello, everyone. First, we would like to welcome you here in Riyadh and wishing you all the best. This is Noor Rashid, the General Manager of QV Research and Development Solution in Riyadh. I will be more generic, actually, asking about the overall process that Oximio can provide to a CRO like us, like IQVIA, in the terms of the logistics, the import license, the process, the timelines, the invoice design, the delivery timelines, the custom clearance as well. So I'm just asking in overall questions. Okay.
It's a short presentation that I'll probably provide to you, to all of you colleagues in probably about 5-10 minutes. So yeah, if you can, and if there will probably be more questions as well, and more, I suppose, inquiries, and but we could certainly have that discussion with you as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm also from IQVIA, so thank you for the invitations. As we in the panel are discussing about the overall 3 pillars, but I would say that, you know, timeline and quality plus the patients. When it comes to the timeline, this is where the Saudi NIH and the 2030 vision is all about improving the capability from the country level, where we see that Saudi is historically a very long startup timeline country, that we would like to improve the timeline to 6 months at least. Going forward. So the more frustrating for us as well as for a site when it comes to the study startup until the site activation, it is a 2-phase. It's a approval phase, and from the approval to site activations. And most of the time what we see, we are spending more time from the last approval until the site activation, where the logistics actually can be improved, the timeline, which sometime like we get a Saudi FDA approval, we get all those approvals, then we are not still able to activate the site because of the logistics.
Yeah.
So I would really welcome, you know, the idea of Oximio, because we were already collaborating with Oximio in other countries as IQVIA. So plus some of the niche studies like Dr. Riyadh mentioned, that cell and gene therapy, where how Oximio would be able to help. I really, you know, interested to see, you know, upcoming presentation and all. Thank you.
It's a great question. I think this goes back to our esteemed colleague here as well, the question about how we can collaborate together. If we do things in silos, you probably will get an answer, but it'll take you a long time. But if we're collectively, we put in all our problems and our challenges together, I think we can put together a very strong proposal. Having site, you know, initiation and readiness is obviously just as important, but you need the logistics to be quick as well. You know, what are the timelines for import into the country? You know, when do you get the green light? What is the application process like? And that is some of the pressure that we want to take away from you, not only as CROs, but also as sponsors. And we want to be your subject matter expert in those fields. It is something that also, you know, I have to say we're learning as well. And we want to learn together, but we're learning at a very fast pace. I think yesterday, as I said, we were all in the depot. I learnt probably more in the depot visit than all the literature that I read and we'd had presentation upon presentation, but to actually be and live and feel the depot was, it was actually, now this is real. It's we have a job to do, and we have a job to do that collaborative. We make it easy for you as well. Is there any online questions that we can take, Furkan? There is.
Please give me a moment.
I don't want to miss out our online participants as well. I think they're just as important. So
Here's
fire
a
away.
question.
Thank you.
With Saudi Arabia's strong push under Vision 2030 to become a regional hub for clinical trials, how is Oximio planning to go beyond being a traditional logistic provider and actively contribute to knowledge transfer and building local infrastructure capabilities in this complex sector?
Wow, that's a heavy question. Ganesh?
Maybe I can combine our answers for the previous questions as well for these questions. First of all, our aim as Oximio is being involved from the very beginning of planning process of the clinical trials. I mean, as we mentioned, it's a key element to have a proper planning, risk-based, having risk-based assessments, even during the study design, supply chain design, and clinical trials project setup. Actually, we are aiming to be involved in the planning process actively, and of course, we want to bring our global expertise with the other locations, but not overstating the deep-rooted local expertise in the country.
Thank you. And as I say, it's an evolution to learn along the way as well. Like I indicated, we want to be the subject matter expert for logistics, but there is still, but to work as a partnership. I think one of the elements, and I think people hear about this from me a lot, to have a seat at the table early. The earlier you can be part of that process, even when you're preparing the protocol, is easier, and we can actually be, more stringently part of what that process will look like. So, putting all your key stakeholders with a early, having a seat at the table is just as important. Furkan, you're looking at me, so there's another question. Fire away.
Because we have very good question, another one here. It's beyond traditional visibility, how is artificial intelligence currently reshaping your quality assurance framework? Are you moving towards an AI-enabled autonomous supply chain where predictive modeling is used to guarantee 100% compliance in temperature-sensitive deliveries?
Dr. Hani? This is well, AI is a no. I mean, AI is the future in terms of I think the whole industry where it's going. We spoke about this yesterday. Where we need to be part of the Vision 2030, but also not forgetting AI, but also robotics as well. We spoke about what would that look like in because everything is currently very hands-on, but there are certainly organizations, logistics providers, depot solutions who do have robotics and who do have AI solutions. We are learning. We're certainly, picking up the pace, and part of our operational excellence, our digital excellence, we've now created a whole team looking at AI, the AI portfolio, and how AI can be actually built into Oximio's operations and also our depot solutions as well. So it is a future. I think watch this space. I probably can't speak more about that now because we need to understand what that landscape, but it is there. That's all I can say. Oh, Mikla, I know that you have some cooking questions.
I maybe add from the CEO perspective. It's a very good question, and AI definitely future. We plan also to implement very important improvements in our inventory management system to onboard a lot of AI tools, as well as robotics. You mentioned, Zaida, right? That we already looking at cold rooms with robotic elements and make sure that this quality will be achieved by combining experience and automation in all our facilities. However, what I want to mention for all participants here, whenever you have any challenge, whenever you have any issues, whenever you have your design, you always want to have real person with you. And real person sitting here in Riyadh, here in Saudi Arabia, and not someone artificial who you don't trust, you don't know what they provide. So this is very important for us. We want to be real, we want to be here, we want to share real expertise and make sure that we can capture all the issues and provide the real responses to any questions and challenges. So this is our approach, and yeah, maybe a bit traditional, but yeah, we like to be real. Thank you.
So just a question for the panelist. As Dr. Raed, showed in his presentation, that the local clinical trial is representing just a small number of the international. And I think this is one of the goal of the Vision 2030 and also the biotech strategy is also to enhancing and to expanding in the local CAR T cell that it's, the clinical trial that it's, developed in the kingdom here. So my question to the panelists, all of them, I know the clinical trial is maybe one of the most important, stage of the drug development, but also the preclinical and, one of the things that it's difficult here, because I have research background, is also the logistics for, getting and receiving the research materials to continue the discovery phase. So my question to all of the panelists, what do you think is the right steps that has to be taken to enhance the number of the clinical trial generated from our scientists, our clinicians, and what would be, the role of Oximio, for example, in this case, to also help in advancing those numbers? Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Quickly.
No,
Well, this is an extremely painful part, I don't have much experience in preclinical, but I know, to have the full chain value, and to generate science here and to generate, R&D and develop drugs, you need to also work on the preclinical. One of the major issue is bringing substance inside the country, reagents, I had this experience from one trial, and Dr. Mani knows this trial, the CAR T cell trial that we had, we did in King Faisal, the in-house CAR T cell trial. So we've had scenarios where, because of the importation and the delays, we get the reagent and it expires after 2 weeks. Okay, and then your patient comes after 3 weeks, and the reagent reacts. So this is very painful. It needs, to be clarified with Saudi FDA, plus not only Saudi, all the government agency in charge. So I can give you an example, a small example that we faced. There is a substance, I don't remember what substance, and it is, it can be used in explosives. Okay, used frequently in the labs, and it can be used in explosives. So that takes forever, to be cleared in the current process. By even in micro, grams, okay, just because that's the substance, it needs to go here and there and there and there on these entities before you get the okay to import it. Okay, while in micrograms used in research, you cannot make any explosive, you cannot make anything. It's very small. So this is very important, to tackle. Supply chain and basic research, sometimes you wait 8 months to get your reagent, while in the States, we used to get it sometimes in the afternoon. You call in the morning, and then you get it in the afternoon.
And if we talk about an example, we had another example in one of our other locations with reagents, and the reagent isn't actually it's part of the clinical trial, but it's not the IMP, for example. So it's actually you need it for either storing the biological sample, and we couldn't get either there was a shortage or we couldn't get it into the country, and we tried every single location. I think we finally found but it did take time, but we did find a solution, but it was painful. Dr. Hani, would you like to maybe add a few words to that question?
Yes, sure. Yeah, just a few quick words. When we talk about this is very, very big area. When we talk about discovery phase, this is probably the most challenging and difficult part in research. Continuing. Thinking of discovery and bringing discovery here to Saudi, that's something need to be decided at very, very, very high level. I mean, the kingdom, to kind of empower first the academia to be a playmaker there, and second of all, to also empower the industry and give them the trust so they can bring their plans here. That's something needs like a high level decision, but it's definitely something doable. We have the potential, we have the minds, we have the capabilities, we have everything set here. The only thing probably we need to have more courage about is the decision for
Yes.
this, because sometimes it's not about the money. It's about having the right person at the right time, at the right place, and the right decision come along to put everything together. And that's it. And also thank you for the invite. Nice discussion, and looking forward to having you, inshallah, having very, very successful, inshallah, journey here in Saudi. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Isha. Thank you very much. I'm hearing resilience, determination, and I think one of the comments that was made earlier on was, even though there might be a hiccup along the road, don't give up. We have to be in it together, and I think if we're not, then it's a case of everybody's going in different directions. Ferhan, you have another question. You're like pointing. Yeah,
I do have. It's an online question again. It's more addressing to Dr. Riyad and Dr. Hani. Thank you for this brilliant presentation so far. It's an exciting time to be part of the clinical trial ecosystem. As a seasoned global trials PM contractor, how can we be involved with providing expertise to clinical trials in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia?
Can you ask it again? I didn't get the question.
As a seasoned global trials PM contractor, how can we be involved with providing expertise to clinical trials in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia?
A PM contractor means what? I'm sorry.
Project
That's the question.
management contractor.
I'm afraid I don't. So project management contractor, contracting on which area? Is it logistics? Is it training, education? So it all depends on which part of clinical trials he's working. As you know, many partners, sometimes we have somebody bringing, feasibility, others bringing, expertise, training. You are doing the logistics, and the storing. So do we have clear idea what?
Then during the presentation, if she detail her question, we will try to answer.
Sure.
Or you will try to answer.
I think, can I jump in?
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Let me have a guess. I think she's working to a CRO, okay? Simply speaking, she can just reach out to a feasibility unit to any of our facilities, and they will just help her with anything she wants. I think she's a CRO.
So
I don't
reach
know.
out to your site or the CRO. But maybe
Yeah,
we can expand on that question and we can respond back. I think there's probably many other questions as well. We'll obviously have some further networking opportunities over lunch, but everybody who is also online, if you do have any further questions, I will be in the room. I will be with our esteemed guests and our panelists as well. So feel free to keep on those questions coming up. I do have a short presentation. First of all, actually, my apologies. I do really want to wish our panelists a huge thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure to have this discussion with with you, and I hope it's also been very insightful for everybody in the room and all online. So if you can show your appreciation, Dr. Riyad, thank you, Dr. Hani and Ganesh, thank you so much for your acceptance of being on this panel. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So I will do. Okay.
Now I'm gonna run. Okay, have another meeting now. Okay.
Oh, thank you so, thank you
Okay.
so
Thank you
much.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Bye-bye.
much.
Bye. Yep.
So I promise you'll only hear from me for the next few minutes, and then obviously we'll enjoy some networking and some lunch as well. I do just want to give you a very short presentation about our position in Saudi Arabia, an exciting journey that we've been on, an exciting journey to come, and why it's also vital to have such a hub in here in the Middle East, but also specifically here in Saudi Arabia. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next one. Thank you. Sorry. Okay. So just to showcase, this is our depot. A few pictures here of when it was, we set up from what was an empty, dusty warehouse to now a fully compliant WDA certified pharmaceutical I suppose, a pharmaceutical environment of a depot. It is positioned in Riyadh, a wonderful location, probably about an hour from the airport. We had our MOH inspection, which we successfully passed, and now we have all the licenses that we need to actually fully establish this as a certified depot for clinical trials in the region. The storage conditions are all the standard conditions that you will require for at least your initial IMP. There are others that we are going to evolve in, we're going to move forward with, but there is ambient 1525, refrigerated 2 to 8, frozen -25 to 15, ultra low, and also LN2 is something that we're also considering in the pipeline. Next slide, please. So what are the services? I think this was one of the questions that was asked by our audience today. What are the services that we can provide here in Saudi Arabia? If you look at logistics and what logistics are you need to have to bring products into the country, they are more or less here. We act as importer of record, acting for customs clearance, and then further on for storage, distribution, and also an important element of returns that come at the end of the study as well. When the products are returned, they can either be stored for a foreseeable future time period, or they can also be destroyed, and we actually provide those destruction services as well. There are other elements that we are looking into and evolving, and as I said, this is an evolution in the depot solutions. Direct to patient based on regulatory approval. We do this in other locations, and we wish to do this here in Saudi Arabia as well. And direct to site, which is actually the standard approach that is used for logistics right now. Sometimes they don't have a transit hub. It comes customs clearance and it goes through to the site. And we can also offer those services as well. Whether it's cost effective, we're not sure. I think a storage option is a much more better and a secure, stable option. Next slide, please. So what does Oximio's business structure look like, and what will it look like for Saudi Arabia? We have global supporting functions, which are all the functions that you would expect from a corporate environment. Operations, which I'll come into, cover 3 main areas: our logistics solution, comparative sourcing solutions, and patient-centric solutions. And this is our global operations. And here in Saudi Arabia, we may we can pick and choose what we will actually wish to do for this location. Our depot network actually covers, as you can see, covers us globally. We cover not only Eastern Europe, but Europe, Middle East, Africa, Asia, North America, but we're also expanding into LATAM, but also Asia Pac as well. The business structure here is that you will have a very hands-on approach. You will have an account manager, you will have a business development manager who will help you grow through your project and your opportunity to make sure that you actually understand that process as well. And dedicated project managers, they are really your subject matter experts in terms of the opportunity and the project as you go through the project scope. Next slide, please. We are also very keen to outline here that environmental and social governance is really important for Oximio, and more important here in Saudi Arabia, because it's part of not only Vision 30, but also the efforts of what we need to do to make sure that we comply with all regulatory requirements. We have continuous monitoring and improvements in the environmental performance, continually improve and reduce our environmental impacts, and increase employee awareness. You'll see a lot of our team here from Saudi Arabia within the room, and it's important that they can actually follow this mantra and the requirements that are needed for the country. Next slide, please. I thought I'll give you a few minutes to actually digest where we are. So this is Oximio Global. And you can see that actually we cover all the regions that you could actually think of for a clinical trial. So even though we have obviously Saudi Arabia, which is prominently on the map as a blue pin because it's our own depot, you'll see other blue pins as well. And we're really proud to actually, support the notion that these are our own depots, a quality management structure which is global, has a backbone in all our locations, and that is very strong in our service portfolio. The green pins here are representing our partner depot networks as well. And also they are part of our community. They show our strength. We actually audit them as part of their onboarding into Oximio, and that is really important because they need to strive to our quality, and it's important for them to actually build up Oximio's culture. So if there are questions, we don't teach them, we don't have them as vendors, we have them as partners, and that's why we call them partner depots. So you can see here, the range of countries and locations that we cover. An important part that I probably want to reiterate is you may see the orange flag, and this is our depot in Kenya, which actually also has a customs bonded facility. It's the only one in the world, but it can actually act as a customs bonded facility for products for anywhere in the world, whether they come from Eastern Europe or even America, going into any other location as well. So yeah, there's quite an extensive coverage, as you can see. Next slide, please. I spoke about our solutions, what Oximio is here to provide, and this is our global portfolio. We have logistics solutions, which is really the bread and butter of what we do. This is almost, if we talk about our business portfolio, this probably makes up around 70% of the business that we do. And this is really the supply chain subject matter experts in all our locations, providing the expertise not only in each location, but also then the storage and the distribution that goes with that to and from site. But also then, as I indicated earlier, there are different elements in different countries as well, such as QP release, the labeling and packaging for products. We spoke about cell and gene therapy logistics as well. So we're slowly in our strategy, I'm sure Mikla will allude to this, is also we are wanting to make sure that we can cover all our temperature regimes in all our locations, because this is a real area of growth in many regions. And in some locations, again, this is also our future. We have our own transport solutions. I think maybe, Ganesh, this is also an ambition here as well. As we move in, quarter on quarter, year on year, there would be a need for our own transport solutions as well. We haven't quite got to our own planes, but you have to have a dream, and that could be that's my dream as well, to see that we are in all our locations, but also our transportation. Not only is our storage and distribution strong, but also our transport solutions are strong as well. The middle portfolio here is sourcing capabilities, and the reason that this is an important factor is in any clinical trial you will also need sourcing, whether that's also ancillaries, but also comparator medication as well, co-medications qualifications that you may need to run the clinical trial, and they are just as important. So what we try and outline here, this is an end-to-end solution, not only getting products such as IMP into the country, but also providing everything that you would need to run the clinical trial for the protocol in the country as well. So there's different elements that you would need to run the sourcing capabilities, such as not only comparators, ancillaries, equipment. We spoke of packaging, but also data logger solutions. So there's a whole aspect that comes under that umbrella. And then the third leg of our services comes under the clinical trial solutions. And what that really means is, the direct to and from patient, which I was alluding to earlier. This is still a scope that we're trying to outline what it looks like in Saudi Arabia. But then again, this is also a global solution in some of our countries as well. Here, there's also patient home nursing. There's lots of reasons why sometimes patient recruitment is hard because patients are scared of hospitals. So if you get the drug to the patient, you actually can enhance that patient experience, but also get patient retention and keep them on the clinical trial. So that is just as important for a clinical trial perspective as well. And in addition to that, when it comes to patient experience, transportation, accommodation, and reimbursement for patients as well. We have patient nutritional meals as well. If a patient is on a very restricted diet, we can actually then fulfill the needs and provide them with specific nutritional meals as well, which will come pre-prepared for that patient. Next slide, please. Meet the Oximio team, just our faces again. So we've obviously opened up the session with Mikla Nikolaev, our CEO. There's myself as Chief Commercial Officer, Ganesh, our Regional Director for MENA, and Furkan, who has hid in the back of the room, who is also our Business Development Manager. And also, I think we need to put a bit of praise in terms of this journey for Saudi Arabia was much to do with yourself. So thank you, Furkan. The Saudi team. So we say that we're established. We need to obviously have not only our profile, we sit in other locations across the world, but this is our team. This is our team in Saudi Arabia. So they were here in the room with us. We have Hussein, who's our responsible pharmacist, Rahaf, who's quality extraordinaire. She's our quality assurance manager and regulatory specialist, Nabil, who's our project specialist, and Mohammed, who's our depot operator. And they are our core foundation of the Saudi team. So really welcome to you. And we really look forward to leaning on your shoulders and learning from you as we go through this journey together. Next slide, please. I do want to show a very short video. The video was shot yesterday, if you wouldn't believe, and the visual team did a great job. So this actually, rather than you all going to the depot, which you are more than welcome to go to, this showcases the depot in real time. So please, can we play the video, please? Thank you. Once again, I'd like to thank everybody for attending today. I hope that this will be the first of many get-togethers for us all to make this a success. I rely on you, you rely on us. We are together, one team. Again, thank you very much for your time today. And if there should be any further questions, obviously from our online participants as well, we're more than welcome to take them, after this session as well. Our contact details will also be available for following on from this session. So yeah, I look forward to working with you all. So thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, we will. It is, and I think we do it in some of our locations purely for that purpose because, I think sponsors and research want to actually take that pain away about, whether it's reimbursement, accommodation, transportation, but then that also then expands it into the direct patient experience as well. It's part of the experience for a patient. The patient wants to feel as though they're a human being, not a number or anything like that. Oh.
Thank you for the question, Dr. Riyad. Actually, I have the same question. How much it would impact, we see operationally lots of difficulties, and it's actually a very good area because I'm very surprised to see the services beyond the traditional logistics. Operationally, from my side, I see lots of difficulties. Especially two areas. One is patient reimbursement. Since we moved into decentralized clinical trial setup, second one, the comparator sourcing and also equipments. So I would like to see actually, do you have any timeline that you will have these services into this in Saudi Arabia? Because we are really keen to know. Maybe the same questions also, Dr. Riyad. Do you still see, doctor, you have lots of challenges when it comes to the patient reimbursement? Because there are some global player, there are still some studies being used, but if we think that it would really help conducting clinical trial in this way, that I really appreciate.
I mean, if I could maybe take the comparative sourcing one, and then I think we can talk about the patient reimbursement and I suppose what you're hearing from, the industry as a whole and even your experience. The comparative sourcing is important for us because when you talk about an end-to-end solution, it's an important solution to have as part of that matrix. We're at the process. We can do comparative sourcing in all our locations, and here in Saudi Arabia, what we're trying to do is to establish local sourcing. We can do central sourcing, which is outside of the country, and then we can bring it into the country if it's obviously a commercial medication that's also registered here in the kingdom. So I would say probably, if I was going to give you a very honest answer, we are probably in the setup stages. So if it was a timeline, I would say probably in the next few months, if not sooner. Because we want to be able to provide that end-to-end solution. So, we don't want to go halfway and say, well, we can do this, we can't do that. It has to cover all the eventualities for our that matches our other locations as well. Sorry.
Maybe to add, because I think this panel discussion was exactly about collaboration, and many questions that industry players have here in Saudi are already answered in other locations. So it's a great experience that we can bring, but we need to collaborate for that. So the best would be to address all this question to us, maybe have few more panel discussion or meetings where we can share all the struggles that you have here. We can pool all our experience from our other locations or regulation practice, as well as specific solutions that we're already doing. And this is where going to be quite quick setup, actually. So we don't think that all what you mentioned is something unknown for us. It's very well-established field which we can do. We just need to understand what exactly you need here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the informative and insightful presentation that we go through today. I have something in mind that actually I discussed around before we start the presentations regarding having Saudi Arabia not beyond Saudi Arabia. We are talking about to be not central hub for clinical research, but also for logistics for the region. I'm thinking about having this depot like a regional depot for the region, not only Saudi Arabia, because we have these challenges for the supply of all logistics during or across the GCC countries and the nearby countries like Levant countries, Egypt as well, because in PPD we are dealing with the regional processes, and we have to, it will be an add-on to utilize Oximio for the region, not only for Saudi Arabia. This is the first point. The second point I can see from the slides that you presented for the services that you are providing, distribution and clearance. The point that I need to ask, are you doing this Oximio themselves, or you have a vendor, qualified vendor, to like a courier or a company that is a third party? Because it will be also, we don't need layers of, I need to make sure of this part. Thank you so much.
And even where we do use vendors, the IOR process belongs to Oximio. We will actually be responsible for that. The customs broker will be outsourced. However, all you will see is an Oximio project manager and an Oximio contact. So, if there is any, for example, unforeseen issues, we will deal with them. If there is any delays, we'll also inform you, but we won't give you a green light before, we won't allow you to release until we've received that green light as well, and that is just as important. But it covers under the umbrella. I think to have a customs broker within Oximio at this time is probably something that we will evolve to probably have internally in our own, in our own services as well. But for now, it's the IOR process as a whole. The import license, the import of record, the documentation, all of that activity will sit within Oximio. Yes.
Yeah, can you hear me? So regarding that point, so Oximio gonna be the import of record and also the applicant in Saudi FDA for the import license, correct?
Yes.
Oh.
So we will act as your importer of record. So we would actually have Oximio's name on the license to actually import the product into the country. In some countries, you are not allowed to be the importer of record in terms of on the import license, but for Saudi Arabia, we will be your importer of record.
I'm sorry, I do have another question.
Yes, sure.
It's about Saudi FDA regulations and overall process. So in each study that we have an approval for, the import license, it's coming as an umbrella for each site. So in case we are contracting Oximio to be as a depot and also an AOR, what is that gonna be like?
The umbrella license. I'm not sure. Do we have an answer to?
It is an umbrella, but I'm asking, can you cover all the shipments, or let's say the quantities of supplies and drugs for all the sites in one import license, or we can use each? Is there any specification or exceptions for Oximio and SFDA?
Honestly, at this stage, I can say that depends on the design of the study, supply chain design of the study, and of course, based on the regulatory approval, the SFDA's approval, we can execute as one umbrella for all sites or separately for different sites.
Okay, thank you so much.
maybe answer this question that regarding regional hub for Saudi. I know that it's a big ambition of country to be regional leader in clinical trials, and we have the same in mind. We now, of course, we set up domestic operations first, but our next step, next investments is to expand it to regional operations. For that, we need to get additional licenses and our own fleet to deliver goods to countries in the region. This is already in progress, and we are also happy to discuss with you how many studies or shipments you see to countries around, and what are the logistics model you would like to have. Because again, this is related to submission process. It's related to specific regulatory pathway which you need to follow. But this, again, work in progress, and we definitely want to make our Riyadh facility as the regional hub and make sure that all countries benefit from this high quality facility. Thank you.
Thank you, Mikla. Yeah.
Yes. Now for the umbrella, why we are using umbrella? I also don't want to issue 4 or 5 ILs per year. So wanted to have one used many times. If we have a depot, so we can import it all in one time, or we can have it separate, depending on the cost and discussion with you and the sponsor. Again, and there is another thing about the site. Can we have IL for all sites? So we'll give it to you and just find out how to send it to sites or not. Being IL applicant, I think it's challenging. It is very good to try to do it with Saudi FDA maybe after 1 or 2 years, but it is really good. One thing about the presentation, I wanted to confirm: are you going to be alliances destruction company, or because it's needed to have alliances for that? Because you are really missing a professional destruction company or provider.
Yeah. In the first part of the question, the answer is yes. But again, I think like Ganesh had mentioned, it's actually really looking at the study design. And we can then plan ahead with you whether, it's over you do a single shipment into the depot or you do multiple shipments under the umbrella license. Now, the second part of that question is also, I think a lot of that is planning. And where we say that, if I will always say that, if we're in the process of learning and development, then, we should, work. Sorry? Yeah. So it's not something that we would actually have under the Oximio umbrella, because we would always use a third party for that purpose. So, I would say never. However, we would build up a strong partnership and stakeholder relationship with our destruction vendor. At the moment, I don't think that there is any plans for us to destroy the material ourselves within Oximio, but we would use a third party for that purpose. Super. Well, thank you very much indeed. As I say, the online participants, thank you for joining us here today. Everybody in the room, thank you also for attending. It's been a pleasure being here and an absolute honor opening up obviously our information out to the world now. Even though you may have seen it pop up in LinkedIn, feel free to share your experiences, what we can do better as well. I'm sure we'll learn from one another. Again, thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to speaking and seeing more of you in the future. Thank you.